I just want to let you all know how incredibly inspiring it is to see a packed room right now in this moment in American history. We really are in a moral moment in American history. This is one of those moments where the issues are not about right or left, they're about right or wrong. We have a nation right now where we are seeing hate on the rise, a 50% rise in anti-Semitic attacks, where we see a nation right now where bigotry, hatred, even here in New Jersey, the attacks on Muslim Americans, Sikh Americans are on a rise in our country. This is a moral moment in a country. We live in a nation with a criminal justice system that is like a cancer on the soul of our country. We have a nation that treats you better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent. A nation that is churning people into the criminal justice system for doing things that 2 of the last 3 presidents admitted to doing. We have a nation right now where we profess to be the land of the free, but 1 out of every 3 incarcerated women on the planet Earth are here in the United States of America. And when they're in prison, what do we do to them? We shackle pregnant women. We created in this nation not just a school-to-prison pipeline, but a sexual abuse-to-prison pipeline, with 86% of the women who we imprison are survivors of sexual assault and sexual violence. We live in a nation right now where we profess to be a nation of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Think about those words, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet there are people all over America who are being financially devastated and still going into financial ruin because they can't afford their health care bill. There are senior citizens in New Jersey tonight that are going to put aside their prescription medications or cut them in half because they can't afford them because the prices are going up. We live in a nation where we have an epidemic of opioid addiction, killing the life expectancy after decades and generations of going up in America. Right now, the life expectancy is going down, largely because of the crisis of opioid addiction. We also went from being the nation that was a light unto others, leading the planet Earth in education, to now having a country where public education is under assault, where teachers are getting wages that do not reflect the value that they're bringing to this nation, where you have teachers who go to work every day with college debt in the tens and 20s, 30, $40,000, not sure how they're going to make their debt payments, but when they get to work every day, they reach in their pocket and still take out money to help the children that come in that might show up needing something to eat or something to wear. Now, this isn't the story of America. We have led the planet Earth on the things that matter. We built out the greatest infrastructure a generation before, and we were the education nation. We are the nation that understood what are common values. Why are we all here in this room? Because of those ideals. This nation was not formed because we all look alike or pray alike. We broke with the course of human events. If you spin the globe right now and put your finger down, you're going to find most nations that you touch were formed because of tribal lines. Pakistan, India separating because of religious beliefs, ethnic divisions. This country said we're not about that. We're about a common set of ideals and principles that were bigger than even the geniuses that wrote them down, because our documents, let's not whitewash our history, our documents still have the residue of that bigotry. Native Americans in the Declaration of Independence were called savages. Women weren't referred to at all. They were second-class citizens, denied the right to vote. Blacks were just fractions of human beings. Stokely Carmichael used to always say, constitute, can only say 3/5 of the word. Some of you all will get that if you say But what's the story of America? The story of this country is the story of all of us in this room from different ethnicities that go to just about every continent on the planet Earth, coming together and fighting in every generation against oppression, against racism, against bigotry, against injustice, taking those vows seriously, that when you pledge allegiance to that flag and you swear an oath to the ideals of liberty and justice for all, that those shouldn't be just words, it should be a way of life, a conviction. That's why groups like this have been gathering for generations. People coming together, meeting in church basements for the civil rights movement, meeting in storefronts, fighting for workers' rights. They've come together in barn houses, plotting the greatest infrastructure project this nation has ever seen, the Underground Railroad. And don't get it twisted. This nation was never changed by who we elect and put in Washington. Think about the great changes we've made in this country. They've always come from rooms like this. Do you think we got the suffrage, right for women to vote? Do you think it happened because suddenly a bunch of people came to Washington, and men looked at each other, you know what, it's about time those women have some rights to vote. No, it happened because ordinary Americans, like the ones in this room, black and white and Christian and Jewish, marched and fought and struggled for it. Y'all think that one day Strom Thurmond came to the Senate floor and said, you know what, it's about time those Negro people have some civil rights. No, it was people, young people, Goodman, Cheney, Schwerner, who were willing to stand up. Those three folks, black and white, Christian and Jewish, died together for the right to vote. And most of us don't use it. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, students on campuses like this who said, we are going to show what this democracy can be. Yeah, King said the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But the truth is, it doesn't bend automatically. It's been folks like the ones in this room who've been the benders of the arc. We make the change in America because we are in a democracy where the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And nothing is set in stone. Every generation has to prove worthy of the blessings of liberty. We all drank deeply from wells of freedom and liberty and opportunity that we did not dig. And we can't pay it back to those folks who stormed beaches in Normandy. We can't pay it back to those folks who did freedom rides. We can't pay it back to the folks at Seneca Falls or at the Stonewall riots. We can't pay it back. We gotta pay it forward. And how do we pay it forward? Do we get cynical and say, oh, I don't think I'm gonna vote, it doesn't make a difference? If you don't vote, that is an act of surrender, not an act of rebellion. And this is the time right now that I hurt. Y'all, I hurt. If America has not broken your heart, you don't love her enough. Because there are heartbreaking things going on. Bob and I left that Senate floor. I couldn't even stay there when they had the vote on Kavanaugh. How could the nation's most deliberative body not take time to even investigate credible allegations of sexual assault in a nation where, according to the Center for Disease Control, 1 out of 3 women, 1 out of 6 men experience sexual violence, sexual trauma in their lives? Ms. Ramirez put forth over 12 people who could have corroborated her story, and we, the deliberative body, couldn't even go slow enough to listen, to investigate, to interview her witnesses. And now, as I've flown around the country, every stop I've taken, from Nevada to Iowa to Florida to Georgia, women come up to me, who I don't even know, strangers, and tell me stories about their experiences that they won't even share with their families. One woman comes up to me with an envelope and rosary beads saying, my friend wanted you to have this letter. She couldn't come to see you because she's still hurting. Yet these women who've talked to me over the last month, they still had fight in their eyes. They still weren't giving up on America because that's who we are. In the wretched, hurtful past that we've come through, we made it through because Americans never gave up on the ideals of this country. We have faced defeats before, but we have never been defeated in this country. We have been knocked down in this nation, but we have never been knocked out. We are a nation that's taken pain and transformed it into persistence. We are a nation where they bombed children in a church in Birmingham and nobody stopped. They got up and they worked harder and they tore down segregation. We are a nation where the shirtwaist fire, factory fire in New York, burning women alive. People didn't stop. People didn't give up. They fought for workers' rights. They fought for a 5-day work week. They fought for safety standards that we now take for granted. We are a nation that turns tragedy and trials into future triumphs because we keep fighting for our principles and ideals. And now I'll tell you right now, I got a lot of fight in me. And yeah, I love Pallone, but I'm fighting for Bob Menendez. And I'm telling you why I'm going to fight with every little bit of American and Jersey that I have in me. And why am I going to fight? Because they tried to take away the Affordable Care Act. A president who promised, I'll make health care for everybody, it's going to be terrific. Direct quote. And then he comes after health care. He comes after pre-existing conditions. He wants to send us back to the day that in New Jersey, the #1 way we declared bankruptcy in New Jersey was bankruptcy because you couldn't afford your medical bills. 130 million Americans have pre-existing conditions. And they tried to take it away in the House of Representatives. They tried to vote it out in the Senate. They tried to attack it in the Supreme Court. And even though we don't have a majority, they thought it was outrageous. And they stopped them in the Supreme Court. And I know if we don't send Bob Menendez back, they'll have the majorities they need. John McCain's not there to stop them anymore. And just before I left the Senate, I heard Mitch McConnell standing up and saying, oh, we got this massive deficit now because they gave tax breaks to corporations that blew $1 trillion hole in our deficit. And you know how he wants to pay for it? Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. I'm fighting for Bob because New Jersey will not send a senator down to Washington that supports that agenda. We are Jersey. I'm the only senator in America that lives in an inner city community. I'm proud to live in the Central Ward of Newark. Median income in my community is $14,000 per household. And don't you dare say my neighbors are lazy. We work full-time jobs. $2.13 an hour plus tips. Catching extra shifts where you can. And in my neighborhood, working harder than my parents did, they still have to use food stamps because the minimum wage in this country is too damn low. And I'll tell you this. People say they stand up for women, people say they stand up for children, but I've seen what Betsy DeVos is doing. I've seen the attacks on public education. I've seen the blocks that they have on paid family leave. I've seen the blocks that they have on prenatal care. I'm going to support Bob Menendez, not just because I like him, not just because he's my friend, but I want someone that's going to go to Washington every single day and fight to raise the minimum wage, fight for pre-existing conditions, fight for prenatal care, fight for universal preschool, fight for the people that are still struggling for their American dream in this country. And I'll tell you what, I'm the only senator in America that's had shootings on their block. Because yes, horrific mass shootings happen in America, punctuated every few months. But in neighborhoods like mine, we've seen a 50-year low in crime in Newark, but there are still too many street corner shrines to children that have been murdered in cities like mine. Shahad Smith on my block was killed with an assault weapon this year. An assault rifle that belongs in a war theater, not in a neighborhood. And I'm telling you right now, in my neighborhood, this is not an intellectual debate. It is a life or death issue. And I will not let New Jersey send someone to Washington who thinks that we need to have more access to guns And not someone like Bob who fights every single day to keep guns out of the hands of criminals and put in common sense gun safety laws. That's why I'm supporting Bob Menendez. And every year, Bob and I fight. They try to zero out money for Pell Grants. They try to take away efforts we make to make college more affordable. They would rather give tax breaks like carried interest to hedge fund millionaires than to put into programs that are going to reduce the load of college debt. Let me tell you something you don't know. The federal government actually makes money off of the student loan program. It literally pulls in billions of dollars a year off of the backs of students like you. It is a profit center for the federal government. It is shameful what we're doing when our competitor nations like Canada and Germany are lowering the cost of college. Only 4% of median income to go to college in Germany. Here in the United States of America, it is 52% of median income. Bob Menendez and I believe that we need to get back to a nation that is an education nation. And the way you do that is not putting burdens on your kids. You can refinance your car loan, you can refinance your mortgage. Our federal government won't even let you, we have people in New Jersey who are paying 9-10% on their student loans. 9 or 10%? I am not going to support anybody that's going to go down there and support the agenda of a president who does not support children, maybe with words, who does not support college students, maybe with words, but with actual policy that will make a difference. And let me finish with this. There are people that live on the margins of our society. I'm sorry, but there are so many Americans still struggling. They do the right thing, they play by the rules, but they're falling behind. One of the greatest values we have in America is love. Now, many of you might think, oh, what's a politician talking about love for? There's some saccharine word, some weak word, but it's not. I get annoyed when people think that the highest value and aspiration in our country is tolerance. You gotta be kidding me. Go home to somebody you love tonight and say, I tolerate you. That's like I stomach your right to be different. That if you disappear off the face of the earth, I'm no better or worse because I was just tolerated. This country was built with a deeper commitment to one another than that. That's why our founders ended the Declaration of Independence with those words. We mutually pledge. We pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. We're not bound together by a common religion. We're not bound together by a common race. This nation said we were going to bound each other in spirit with a conviction for a common set of principles and ideals. Ideals like justice, but we know that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If you and your family aren't experiencing justice, it cheapens mine. Because as King said, we're all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a common garment of destiny. That injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This nation is called to love. And we're descending in too much hatred. Look around. People are hating on each other just because of what political party they're in or what hat they choose to wear. We can't hate on somebody just because they're a Republican or just because they're a Democrat. We must first love them, which means, hey, we're not always going to agree. I fight like hell on issues I believe strongly in New Jersey. You've seen me in Washington fighting like hell, but we should never ever stop seeing someone's dignity and someone's worth and understanding that if we're going to make it in America, we have to understand that African parable. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so now I'm going to ask you all to do something. We have 8 days left in this election. And I'm traveling the country, but I'm going to be running in New Jersey hard to the end. That's how important Bob is to me. Because of his values and because of his ideals. Because when that vote has to be taken on a tax plan that takes away our state and local finances, We need a Democrat that's going to stand strong for that. When they try to take away health care, we need one that's going to stand strong. When they try to rush a Supreme Court justice through, we need a Democrat that's going to stay strong. We need someone who doesn't just believe in party, but believes in people and ideals and the values of love. And I'm going to end with just a poem that called upon fellow countrymen and women to understand that they have power, that what makes this nation is people who live their ideals, don't just talk them, that understand that democracy is not a spectator sport. You can't sit on the sidelines, you gotta get in the game, that know that you can't lead the people if you don't love the people. This was a poet named Langston Hughes. And he simply said, "Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, but yet must be the land where everyone is free. The poor man, the Indian, the Negro, me." And who made America? Whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must make our mighty dream live again. Oh yes, I say it plain, America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. My friends at Monmouth College, you now here at this great university, you must swear that oath like our ancestors did when they stood and marched and fought. You must swear that oath like our ancestors did who fell and hurt and scrubbed toilets and worked for us. You must swear that oath that you will be a leader in this moral moment, that you will wake up the consciousness of others, that you'll get folk woke, that this election is the most important one in my lifetimes when it comes to midterms. You must swear an oath that you are going to be a part of the solution, not the problem. And I hope and pray that you will join me in swearing the oath that you're going to do everything you can to make sure leaders who will fight for New Jersey will get elected in this election.
Ladies and gentlemen, leaders like Bob Menendez. Come on up, Bob.